I'm here with Fabrice Grinda, my not so old friend and genius entrepreneur who invested in 1,200 startups with FJ Labs that he created with Jose Marin. And recently, Fabrice has been all in crypto. So I wanted to, since I'm really interested in the topic as well, I wanted to welcome Fabrice here and have fun again and discuss about crypto. How are you, Fabrice?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great.
Great. So you lost, how much was it? $15 million.
Fortunately, I didn't lose all of it, but on your advice, I used UST and Terra Luna as a savings mechanism to learn like 20% on like $16 million. And of course, that went to zero. So fortunately, I was able to sell some on the way down. So I think I only lost like, 9 million.
Which is crazy that you're still now launching projects in crypto, and we will talk about your main project right now. But how I have so many friends who tell me, "Oh, you're getting back into crypto, but I lost so much. I'm never doing this again." So why are you back having lost so much?
Well, if you take a step back and I look at like a 30,000 foot view, there are a lot of like bad projects in crypto. Like a lot of it is like pumps and dumps and scams and et cetera. But I think there are two real use cases that are meaningful and valuable. And as long as your projects are around those things, then you're okay. And so one, of course, is Bitcoin as digital gold. In a world where fiat currencies, are being devalued as people are printing more and more and more with like ever-growing budget deficits. And number two is actually stablecoins as a means of exchange and a store of value. There's hundreds of billions of stablecoins out there, and we're at the very beginning of the stablecoin revolution. And so I'm like, you know what? Why don't I build the picks and shovels to actually help monetize both Bitcoin and stablecoins? And to me, that is literally a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. There's like 2.7 trillion right now that's not monetized in these two asset classes.
And 4 billion total in crypto. Why even bother with stable coins?
Well, if you think about it, like why have cash versus having gold, right? Like maybe gold is a great hedge for inflation, but you can't actually pay with anything for it. And do you really want to be paying for things in a deflationary currency? And the answer is absolutely not. And so actually, if you want to, buy something, pay for food, and make a living, especially if you live in countries with high inflation and arbitrary history of confiscation, the Argentinas and Venezuelas or whatever in the world, actually you need something that is a means of exchange, not purely a store of value. And so that's
And
why
Bitcoin
stablecoins
goes down too.
and
Bitcoin
Bitcoin
can
goes
go
in. Yeah,
down.
exactly. So you want something that has a constant value that you could use on a day-to-day basis. So yes, there's gold, but there's still the dollar and cash to pay for things. And so even though you can use Bitcoin as a savings mechanism, you still need cash to pay for life.
Okay, so let's go straight to your project. So here, let's see if this works. You have created MIDAS. Boom, here we go.
Yeah, Midas.f.
Yeah, and you raised, I mean, it's so impressive. 764 million today. You were saying you're going to pass $1 billion in October, correct?
Next month, probably in September. Yeah, I mean, look, the impressive part is that we were at 20 million in February. I think we were at 10 million in January. We hit 100 million on May 19. We hit 300 million at July 10. We hit 600 million July 31st, and right now we're at like 760. So we'll be at 800, 850, within probably this week. So I don't know where we end this month, like 850, 900. We'll be at a billion in September. And the crazy thing is we've done all this with no marketing, no social media team, no points, no KOLs, and no token.
So how does this work? Like, how do you? Because frankly, I mean, I don't want to be rude, but you launch this like just a web page, right? With a few funds where you say, okay, here you can connect your wallet, right? And here are a few tokens, and they make between 4% to sometimes 25% last week. Now it's 19. And we know that in traditional finance, it's not easy to do this, like 4% is the monetary market, right? Is governmental, basically you lend money to Trump. That's 4%. And you offer up to 15, 20, 25%. How do you do that? And how do you get almost $1 billion with just a web page like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, so what are we doing? We're basically as I said, there's 2.7 trillion right now in Bitcoin and stablecoins that is earning zero yield. And so the vision I had, and this was the vision started in July 2022, was like, I want to build a fully regulated, so because I believe the future of CeFi and DeFi is fully regulated, um, platform or marketplace where I allow asset managers to tokenize financial assets. So my idea was, okay, can I bring financial assets on chain to generate yields for people who have stables and Bitcoin in a way that's safe, bankruptcy remote, fully regulated? And it took a while to get there, and eventually we got our European license, so we're MiFID and MiCA compliant, and then we can passport to Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. That was like in October 24. And in February, we signed the first three asset managers, which were MEV, Edge, and RE7, or crypto native asset managers. But of course, little by little, we've been adding other assets and asset managers. So the question you ask is, how do some assets generate like 15% and others, so the vision I had at the beginning is I want a product that works in every market condition. So I want something that works in bear markets, bull markets, and sideways markets. And I want to offer a suite of financial services to users that covers all of their needs. So I guess we can go one by one, right? Like if you're in a massive bear market and everything's going down, you just buy T-bills and you get your little 4%.
Why would I need Midas to buy a 4% fund?
Well, if you have a bank account in the U.S., it's pretty easy to buy T-bills. But actually, if you're in Latin America or you're in Asia or
I
you're in
see. I
Africa,
see. Sure.
it's way harder. And if you already have on-chain USDC, USDT, etc., here it's literally one click, right? Like imagine how it works with your financial institution. You need to call your banker, and then it takes days to settle, and they take fees.
And they take 1%.
Here you click, connect your wallet, you put USDC, USDT, you buy, you're done. This is the bear market
product. Self compounds, right? The interest compounds back.
Yes, it accrues.
And what is your commission? You take at the exit 0.5%.
It only varies on the products. So all the products here, except the T-bill product, have a 20% built-in performance fee. So the yields you're seeing are net of the 20% performance fee. So the 18.5% on M Hyper, for instance, actually we're making 22. We happen to be taking 20%. So the numbers you see are net, except in the T-bill product, where of course the fees are much lower.
Okay, so you were offering to go one by one. I think that's a great idea. So we did the
bear market product, the T-bill product. Yeah. Then we have a bull market product, which is the basis trade products, which are M basis and M hyper. So there's a company out there called Athena, which has created their own stablecoin. And what they did is they said, you know what? If people are bullish, they believe that Bitcoin in the future will be worth more than it is today. And so there's a trade that's possible where you're shorting the future of Bitcoin and others, and Ethereum and Solana and others, and you're long the spot. And by doing that, you actually create what's called a delta neutral trade, meaning it actually is indifferent of the market condition. You're printing the spread between the two. And so the basis trade is a bull market product. So when the market is going really hot, so in 23 or 24, one of those 2 years, I think it generated like 25% in yields. I mean, it was because the market, I think 23, because the market was very, very hot. Now this goes up and down based on how bullish the market is. And this year it's been sideways, so it's been more like a 10% trade or yield. And then we've tokenized we have two other types of products currently tokenized. So M-Edge and MEV. So we are tokenizing two funds. They're called Edge and MEV. And what these guys are is they're essentially market makers. They provide liquidity in liquidity pools. They get subsidized by people like Plume or Inc. or XRP to bring TVL to those chains, and they get paid guaranteed. And that yield that they generate by being market makers and active on crypto, they pass over to the end user. And that's why they also negotiate special rewards. So if you go actually all the way to the top, in addition, you see the little star, the rewards. In addition to the APY, you can actually earn. Well, you can look at the rewards. You can also earn rewards on the different places that they've negotiated. And so these two funds specifically are crypto native. But what I've described today,
Fabrice,
yeah.
No. I was just, if you allow me one interruption here.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you trust? How do I Like I'm a user, right? So
Yes.
I show up to, so I watch Fabrice here. I like this guy. I want, like, is it like, how do I trust those guys,
Yeah.
right?
So
You're telling me 13%. How do I trust the 13%? It's
yeah.
pretty.
So we're a curated marketplace. So we are not ourselves not an asset manager, right? We're a platform that allows asset managers to go tokenize. But we have chosen not to be open. We don't let anyone just come and bring their funds. We do a risk assessment of all the different funds out there, and we decide who we want to bring on board. And so we have a big risk team to make sure that the funds actually exist. They're investing in real projects. And the beauty with things like Edge and MEV is actually because they're investing on chain, you can actually see all of the assets and the performance of their underlying assets. And so they already manage, billions of TVL in general beyond us.
So you're bringing fund managers in crypto, right? That were just not tokenized. You tokenize them. That's what
correct. So they already existed, but if you want to invest in MEV or Edge, you need to be an accredited investor. You need to be qualified, and you have a minimum usually on their side, like $1 million. On our side, you could just connect your wallet and boom, buy $1,000, $2,000. So we've tokenized them, but actually we're not just bringing them users and distribution, we're also allowing users to do things they cannot do anywhere else. The beauty, so what at MIDAS is we've created this tokenization infrastructure, but then we have atomic composability. We can instant mid and instant redeem. So you can actually go to Pendle and collect all the points and bet on interest rates. Then you can go looping if the rates are high enough on Aave and Morpho and Euler. And we're the only people that allow you to do that. Now,
we talk about that later. Borrowing at 12% to put it back on MEV at 7 right now. I'm sorry, but this is not looking really good.
Right now it doesn't work, but there are many moments where it does work and where you generate 30, 40, 50, 60%. But by the way, so I just described the first few products, which are kind of crypto native products, except for the TVL product.
And by the way, MEV has 84 million in total value locked with MIDAS, right? We see
it's actually hundreds of millions because
is it?
In addition to what's on MIDAS, we run vaults and we run the crypto earn section for different companies, and so we run it, for instance, for Terminal, for Hyperbeat, for Mizu, and so the total TVL you see is both a direct to consumer, which is what's on MIDAS here, and or B2B, and so actually MEV has hundreds of millions on MIDAS, not just the 84 million that you see here, and that's true of everyone else here. But here's where this is going.
But wait, Fabrice. Like I keep interrupting you. Let's go one by one. So MEdge, MEV, T-Bill we did, MBasis we did. Can you go through all of them?
Yeah.
Really,
so
fast?
Hyper is the same thing as it's a basis trade on centralized exchanges, but it's Hyper Rhythm, which is the asset manager, is a South Korean hedge fund, and they're doing the basis trade in Japan and Korea on centralized exchanges. So it's a different version of MBasis, but done on centralized exchanges in South Korea and in Southeast Asia. But let me talk to
7 Sol. Yeah. You want to talk about these two?
Well, I mean, these have very little capital, so probably less relevant. I think these are bond strategies or lending strategies, and then but the more important ones is where is this going?
Wait, F1? You didn't talk about
that's the one
F1.
I want to talk about.
Okay, sorry.
So Fasanara is a very large private credit fund in the traditional world. So so their flagship fund is a product called F1. The way F1 makes money, ignoring the crypto component right now, is investors give them capital and then they lend the capital to fintech companies out there. They have 200 fintech companies that are borrowing from them. So it's a category called private credit. Private credit is a multi-$100 billion category right now, where a lot of people are investing in private credit to generate yield. It's a completely offline strategy. There is no token component. We are just tokenizing them and allowing investors on chain to invest in private credit. We're the first and only place you could do this. And then there you could also do the looping that you can't do anywhere else.
So when I put my money there, I'm literally lending it to?
You're lending it to, I don't know who there are hundreds of fintech clients are, but like you can think of Klarna, you can think of fintech companies. I
I
don't know if
see.
Klarna is a client, but that would be an example of a
But
fintech
that
company.
means these people are borrowing at 15% at least, since you're giving
Yeah,
me.
but actually many fintech companies are borrowing at these types of rates. The yields they have to generate, so if imagine you're doing inventory-based lending on Shopify. The effect, usually these companies take like 15% of the revenues or 10% of the revenues for like 6 months or whatever. The effective APY they're lending at is 60%. So they can absolutely afford. Oh yeah, they can absolutely, because if you're a small business on Shopify, you need the money. You're cash flow constrained because you need to pay for inventory, and so you're willing to pay these very high APYs basically.
I see. Okay. So where is this going? Now that we went around, I think we covered trust a little bit before. Maybe there is one more thing. Is you tell me, basically you're telling me, trust me to pick those guys, trust me to trust them, right? Basically you trust MIDAS to trust them.
The reason, yes, and the reason you would trust us is we're regulated, we're bankruptcy remote. So even if we go bankrupt, it means the assets are still yours. They don't go. They don't. You still have access to them. We're picking asset managers that are real and big, etc. And beyond that, the more we're growing, the more credibility it brings, right? Like the more TVL we have, the more it's attracting other asset managers that are saying, "Hey, we want to launch with you." And so we're going to launch other asset managers and other products, and more non-traditional financial products. At some point we'll tokenize stocks, we'll tokenize the S&P 500, we'll tokenize bonds, etc.
Oh,
It's
so you're
bringing
going to bring traditional assets and fund managers like a traditional hedge fund that is doing very well, and I can put $1,000 in it.
Yes.
Was that completely impossible before?
Correct.
Okay, I see.
But we're not going to do it for too many because this is a marketplace. You need to match supply and demand. So maybe there's going to be a dozen asset managers that we're going to pick with the products that are most interesting. And
Okay.
and right
But
now,
like Tesla stock, or what are
yeah,
you going to
yeah.
bring? You think, yeah?
I mean, not in the short term because that we have other priorities, right? Right now, our priorities are um, launch. Right now, there's 2.5 trillion essentially in Bitcoin that's not currently monetized at all. Our current yield, as you saw in our BDC product, which is a lending product with prime brokers, is like 2%. We're about to launch a BDC yield product that's generating more than that. I think that'll be more compelling. We want to launch
Like more than that, like what?
well, the problem is all these are the spot rates vary based on the market conditions. So 5 to 8%.
The way you make the money, or they make the money, is they borrow against the Bitcoin and they invest them in such funds, right?
Or they lend the Bitcoin. I mean, there's a whole bunch of like yield generating strategies that you can have. But right now, the lending the Bitcoin is not generating much yield. So I think I'm sure it's more on yield because you could borrow 2%. It's more about generating yield that way.
I can't believe actually you raised already like nearly $1 billion like this. We've just
Well,
how
because
do people trust you like that?
we have the easiest user interface possible. We're providing the highest yields, and we're providing products that are differentiated, like private credit. Like everyone wants to invest in private credit. There's nowhere else to get it. And then we're getting we're the only people that have integrations on Pendle, on Aave, on Morpho, and Euler to do the looping. And so the degen type users, that we're the only place you can do that, honestly. And then last but not least, because we're becoming so good at like tokenizing and so quickly, we're getting more and more distribution. So the more and more assets managers bring more assets, we're signing now distribution deals where we're going to run the earn program for centralized exchanges. We're running the earn program on stablecoins and Bitcoin for big fintech companies. I can't give you the names because they haven't been announced yet, but both centralized exchanges and fintech companies, and we're running, as I said, a lot of terminal vaults for people. So we're running the vaults for Terminal, for Mizu, for Hyperbeat, and we're launching a whole bunch of more vaults in the coming weeks. And so
Can we? Yeah, sorry.
so
Can we
basically, it
pause
creates
on the?
this flywheel, right? More asset managers, more distribution, more chains. So like right now, we're really mostly ETH. More liquidity pools, more TVL, more liquidity, and it just keeps going. And that's why we have lightning in a bottle. But it took 2.5 years, right? Like for 2 years, it was like nothing, and then boom.
Amazing. How about security in general about crypto? Because there are concerns about protocol security.
Yeah,
You could be hacked.
correct.
Then you're giving my money to, let's say, M-Edge, right? Heavy Edge guys. They could be hacked.
Okay.
There is so many
Yeah. So first of all, we are the custodian, so we have the capital. The way it works is Fastenara, Edge, etc. They have, it's called an SMA, a separate managed account. They manage the investments in our accounts. So actually, even if they get hacked, it's irrelevant because we are the custodians of the 760 million or whatever it is. So obviously, our operational security is key, given that I don't know how many hacking attempts we get per day. I'm sure it's in the hundreds. But we obviously everything's been audited from a security audit perspective. We are obviously using many multi-sigs. I actually personally decided I don't want any control, any signatures, any.
But you don't have a ledger in your
I
pocket?
have nothing. I cannot sign anything because the last thing I would like to do is be a target or kidnapped. So I have zero control. I play with product and business development and fundraising and decks and speeches, etc. But like all the execution, and by the way, all the execution, we have no single point of failure. And also the fact that our team is so distributed, we have people in Sao Paulo, Mountain View, Ukraine, Germany, London, etc. is also part, and it's all multi-sig. Multiple people need to sign for all the transactions. It adds a very large layer of security. Like no one can can do anything basically.
But how do you answer people telling you, because you've been really fast, I just want to keep it a little basic for now, but the things your fund managers do, because you have this tab which is called transparency on your funds, and I looked into it. You can see their wallets and you can see what they do with the money, which is
Yes.
pretty interesting. Maybe we'll go to that in more details.
Yes.
But the way they do it, as you said, you called it looping, is also they take the asset, they invest it, then they borrow against it, they reinvest it, then they re-borrow against it, right? And it really feels like some people will get completely scared about this, call it even it's a Ponzi, right? If it goes down, if
and it's
any
not
of
it's not a
those go
Ponzi.
down,
It's called a levered trade, right? So you're taking leverage. About 15% of our users, it's 15% of the TVL more or less. So it's not a very large percentage. It's the degen type users who do it. But obviously, these guys have to pay very close attention to it because it only works when the yield you're generating is higher than the borrow rates, and the yield changes pretty quickly. So
and this is your users, not the fund managers,
correct.
right?
It's
The fund
our
managers don't do that.
users that are very degening. The fund managers, that's not the way they make money. They make money because XRP, so Ripple says, hey, I would really like 100 million here, and I'm willing to pay $1 million or $2 million to guarantee a high APY if the TVL moves here. So they get paid for bringing liquidity to Plume, to Ripple, to Inc. I mean, to wherever on a regular basis. So, and that's very safe because these are the foundations and the treasuries of the very big chains that are paying Edge and MEV for bringing TVL, basically.
Okay, so tell me where this is going, because this is a marketplace and your fund is you're investing in 1,000+ marketplace. You're obsessed with marketplaces. So where is it going?
Well, the reason I like marketplaces, first of all, is they're asset light. It's a very little capital. Their winner takes most, and they have these beautiful network effects. So right now, we're about to be at $1 billion. As I said, there's 2.7 trillion right now in crypto and Bitcoin and stables that is not generating yield. And by the way, that 2.7 trillion, it's going to be 10 trillion in a few years. And so where this is going, I think, is I'd like to be at whatever 5-10 billion by the end of next year. I'd like to be, I think there's a multi-$100 billion platform to build here. Like I'd like to build essentially an on-chain BlackRock with third-party funds. And where I think we're the best position to do it because we have the legal infrastructure to do it, we have the technical infrastructure to do it, we already have the traction, and we already have the selection criteria for bring the best assets and asset managers on chain.
If there is someone that wants to put their money, like start investing their money outside of what the traditional bank is offering, private banks, and how much allocation would you recommend they put on MIDAS or MIDAS funds? 100%?
Well, MIDAS is more traditional. It's not a risky investment, right? Like, so how much should I think should they put in Bitcoin? I don't know, 5-10%. How much should they put in venture capital? I don't know, 5-10%, etc.
Fabrice, wait, let me ask you differently. You have $1 million or $100,000. Let's reach more people. What do you do with it? Yeah, that's all you have, and you have to invest it. Where do you put it now, today?
Honestly, for most people, I just buy the S&P 500 and not lower or whatever and not look at it. The it's the easiest. And never look at it, right? Like the thing is, people have a tendency to be emotionally invested in like the day-to-day movements, which matter not. Like the beauty of all these things is they compound. What I'm thinking of launching at some point probably is an overarching MIDAS token, which like is distributed strategy across all the different strategies, and this way you get full diversification between a combination of private credits and T-bill and basis, etc. And so I think that could give you a very diversified portfolio that's safe, right? Because the thing is, if you had 100% of your funds in whatever one of our asset managers, and the asset manager, I mean, again, they are themselves diversified, so I don't think it's very unsafe. But can these strategies sometimes lose money? Absolutely. And so I probably buy a little bit of everything. But do I think we're a very reasonably safe way of generating yield in today's world in non-stocks right now? Yes, absolutely. Would I put like 20-30% in Midas type products? Absolutely.
So 20% there, 20% S&P, 10% Bitcoin.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, that's not 100%, but let's say a third is
Yeah,
not.
but I mean, the thing is, most people look. Most people, if you have a few million, the first thing they typically want to do is buy a home, right? Like, so that's why I'm including real estate in there. Now, real estate I consider consumption. It's not, as you and I have both experienced, it's not very liquid. It takes a lot longer than we would like to sell real estate when we want to sell it, and it costs a lot more money to maintain than people appreciate, so it depreciates. But as a percentage of their asset allocation, typically it's still a pretty large percentage, right? Like, so that's why everything else is not adding 100%. It's because I'm including real estate.
How about personal security? Like there are all the stories of even the founders of Ledger being attacked with this thing in there. But basically, you become the bank, right? If you have this in your pocket, you're the bank. So it's really easy to attack you or hack you or what.
Yeah,
What do you?
but again, you need to remember my general recommendation for investing is you invest in an asset that you believe in, and you look at it once a year. You look at it in January 1, you see, oh, how did I do last year? And you think through at that point in time, okay, as the conditions change such that this investment I made is no longer the right one, and then you adjust. So you rebalance your portfolio once a year, and therefore you don't travel with your ledger. It's in a safe somewhere. The code phrases to recreate it should be in like 3 different safes separated in 3 different places, like etc. Like, you don't create a single point of failure, and such that on your own you can't do anything, and you can't be providing people with that. Now, the alternative, by the way, is you could just eventually just have things on whatever, Coinbase, if you're or Kraken. Now, of course, there's a password there, and
Can people buy Midas on
no,
those exchanges?
not today,
Not yet.
not today, not
We
today.
need a. So tell me about the marketing, because this is really fascinating, right? We both have created a few startups, or you have invested in 1,000. It's generally what's the most difficult, right? But you went from zero to almost $1 billion soon with, you said, no marketing. So how did this happen?
So what happened here is yeah, so the hard part in all marketplaces is getting demand, actually, because sellers, they're always willing to. If you go to a fund manager, it's like, hey, I might have demand for you, or investors, would you want to be here? Everyone wants to be on the platform, right? So it's very easy for me to have 1,000 asset managers if I want to. I choose not to be curated. So how do you get the demand? And this is where we thought long and hard. Do we want ourselves to be asset managers, right? My co-founder, Dennis, he's a Goldman banker. Like, creating a buying T-bills or creating a basis trade is not all that hard. But then we realized, you know what? By working with asset managers, these guys are doing a lot of work. They're going to go and negotiate these points and these rewards with the different chains. They actually have built-in demand, right? So where is our original demand coming from? Well, first of all, the MEVs or Fastener, etc. Because in the offline world, so if you want to invest in them, you're Loic and you want to go, you call them and they're like, hey, I want to invest. They're like, okay, are you a qualified investor? Do you have more than 5 million in assets? Are you writing $1 million check? And you're like, sorry, I want to write $10,000. They can't. So first of all, there's already demand there of people that would like to write 5K, 10K, 20K, etc. So that's one pool that started coming. Then,
which was not served. Basically, you created
exactly
that.
They had demand that was not served, which is why the tokenization worked. Number one. Number two, these people would put in 10K, But then because we are composable, they actually could start doing things like looping. And so the 10K would turn into 70K because they would like loop it 7 times on Aave, Morpho, and Euler. But what's interesting is I don't need to go to Aave, Morpho, and Euler or Pendle. The asset managers are doing it. The asset managers, they are the ones negotiating the rewards. They are the ones, et cetera. And so that brings its own demand as well. And then because we have this, the distribution partners like the centralized exchanges, the fintechs are like, hey, wow, you guys are growing really quickly. You have really interesting products. Can we distribute them as well? And so that's what started the flywheel. And but honestly, it only started in February. Like we were like flat 10 million from the launch all the way to February 25. And finally, in February 25 is the first time we started launching these new asset managers instead of having our own funds. And that's when it really took off because the asset managers bring their own distribution, which leads to more distribution partners wanting to work with us, which leads to more liquidity pools, which leads to more chains. And that created the flywheel. But it took 2.5 years to hit lightning in a bottle.
Which is very short, to be honest. And you did zero advertising, zero PR, right? And you don't have that much PR actually. So I'm really happy with doing this because it's just exploding in crypto, but people don't know about it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like the thing with crypto projects is many of them have tokens, and so they're giving token incentives to get users. The problem is if you don't really know if you have product market fit because a lot of these users, the minute the token unlocks to happen, they might just leave and sell the token. And so the beauty of having done it without a token is now we can launch a token in the future from a position of strength where we're like, okay, we're going to use it to create more valuable liquidity and not like get mercenary users that are not there. So we may actually launch a token in the future. It's just I wanted to hit product market fit without a token because it gives you flexibility and strategic viability. Like we could, if we wanted to, we're not sellers, but if like what BlackRock or Circle came and said, hey, here's 4 billion, we'll buy you. I could actually sell. If I have a token, I can't sell. And also I'm not giving away 90% of the equity value to the end users that are mercenary. I want to reward the most valuable, meaningful users on a go-forward basis. And so that's what I could use a token for in a year or two.
Fabrice, you've been an investor for many years. And how much of your time, your own time, are you spending on MIDAS right now?
The vast majority of my time right now. Because when you hit, so I think you and I are both believers of you go where the energy takes you. And like when something's working, you keep doing it, right? And this is working. Every conversation we have with a distribution partner, we basically 90% conversion rate is signing. Every asset manager is begging to work with us. Every venture fund I talk to is dying to invest in. It's good to be the belle of the ball where everyone wants to work with you. And I'm like, you know what? This is working so well. Like this is all I should be doing and nothing else, right? Like, yes, I'm still in the investment committee at FJ and I'm still spending, whatever, a third of my time at FJ. But also in a way, this is an FJ product, right? The FJ shareholders own about 25% of MIDAS. So I'm like, you know what? This is where I can create the most value for FJ and in the world. And this is working very well. And by the way, FJ is like 5 partners and 9 investors and 19 people. They're fine.
Tell me more about, because you were not planning. I know you enough that you didn't know it would explode like this, right?
No, correct. I've been meaning to do this for a long time, right? So Dennis, my co-founder, came to me in July 22, and he's like, I want to work with you. What do you want to do? It's like I want to build a company that's fully regulated, that basically allows others to create their own Athena, like to tokenize traditional financial products in a legal way. If you can figure a way to do it, let's do it. And it took, I mean, the first license we got that was really meaningful was October 24. I mean, it took over 2 years and 3 months or 4 months to get to the regulatory license that allows us to do this, as opposed to doing what everyone else is doing, which is Reg S, Reg D, like being fully decentralized, not because they wanted to, but because they needed to for governance reasons to not go to jail. Yeah. And so it took a long time. I did not expect it to work like that. And in fact, if you asked me in October 24, did you make a mistake in going regulated? I was like, maybe we did, because in the meantime, Ondo and Athena got billions and we're like zero, But now, it's a huge advantage because what happens is all the centralized exchanges or the companies, they want to go public. They need to be regulated. The only people they can work with are regulated players. We're the only game in town. If you're a big company and you want someone to run your earn section, we're it, basically.
I see. Tell me about the product, and then we go a little broader outside of MIDAS, sorry. But the product, how do you see the product in a few years? I got it. Right now you're going from $1 billion to a few billion. That's your focus.
Yeah, well,
but the
hopefully
product right
hundreds of
now is a
billions.
web page invest in like 8, it's very simple, right? Which works. But
Yeah,
like,
it'll be more than 8. It'll be whatever, 20, 30 products. It'll be.
but what does it look like in 3 years or in 5
I
years?
think
Tell
the
me about.
front end. So the front end looks the same, except with more products, basically. And maybe there's an overarching product that is diversified across all the different underlying managers, which we could also invest in. And it just happens to have much more traditional financial instruments. Right now, if you take a step back, the way the banks work in the normal world makes no sense to me, right? If you're buying a stock, there's a broker, there's a banker, there's a custodian. It only works during business hours, and there's a T+2 or T+3 settlement and 3 layers of fees. That makes no sense. Like, you should be able to like buy it, boom, you have it. Sell it, boom, it's sold. Like, and so I want to tokenize more traditional financial instruments and bring them on chain. And I think there's a whatever $100 trillion opportunity in the category of basically bringing the entire traditional financial infrastructure on chain. And I see ourselves as the best place to do that and the best position to do it, by the way.